Ravi sir, live progress. A very gracious and inclusive welcome to esteemed chief guest, Professor V. Subramanian, Emeritus Professor from the School of Environmental Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, Delhi. Professor S.P. Agarwal, Principal and TNC Director, Ramanujan College, University of Delhi. Convener, Dr. Tenzin Thakur, Assistant Professor from Department of Environmental Studies, Ramanujan College. My worthy colleagues from the organizing team and the dear participants who have joined us today at India. I, Nidhi Mathur, on behalf of Ramanujan College, graciously welcome you all to the inauguration function of the online 2-week interdisciplinary refresher course in Environment and Human Health, organized by Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujan College in collaboration with Department of Environmental Studies, Ramanujan College. Named after the great Indian mathematician, Ramanujan College is one of the constituent colleges of University of Delhi. It was established in the year 1958 as an evening college for boys with just 5 programs. For the past decade,
तुम्हारा ऑडियो ना बहुत अच्छा नहीं है, या तो तुम्हारे यहाँ दो इक्विपमेंट लगे हुए हैं।
हेलो,
2 इक्विपमेंट चल रहे हैं क्या?
नहीं सर, चल तो एक ही रहा है,
लेकिन
आप सही सर। हेलो,
हाँ आता तो वैसे तो ठीक है, लेकिन इट्स नॉट वेरी क्रिस्प, कुछ या तो
मे बी द इंटरनेट प्रॉब्लम सर।
इंटरनेट का तो इशू नहीं है, तो ये ऑडियो वायर का इशू आपका। चलिए कोई नहीं, go ahead.
For the past decade, the college has been on the unprecedented path of growth. It has highly qualified, committed, research-oriented, and talented teaching faculty who encourage interdisciplinary and blended learning mode to the teaching learning process through various innovation projects, conferences, seminars, talks, and workshops. In pursuit of its vision, discover, empower, transform, building a better world, Ramanujan College is today perceived as one of the best colleges in the country. The college has acquired many prestigious schemes of University Grants Commission and Ministry of Education, like the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Center for Knowledge Acquisition and Upgradation of Skilled Human Abilities and Livelihood in the year 2016, the Teaching Learning Center under the aegis of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching in the year 2017, and the National Resource Center for developing specialized online and MOOCs courses for teachers in the disciplines of ethics, human rights, and environment in the year 2018. Moving ahead, the Teaching Learning Center is mandated by the Ministry of Education to organize faculty development programs, faculty orientation and induction programs, discipline-specific and interdisciplinary refresher courses, conferences, workshops, through both offline as well as online modes. The Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujan College has been set up with the aim of reaching the unreached teachers in terms of regional diversity and geographical remote areas of the country. It has successfully conducted more than 100 learner-centric programs since the year 2017 and has trained more than 150,000 teachers across the country in various discipline and interdisciplinary programs. Our college is a pioneer in offering offline as well as online courses for faculty members of higher education institutions through the customized learning management system designed by the college's own Research Development and Services Center. The LMS is predominantly participant-friendly and incorporates evaluation methods and comprehensive feedback systems to judge the learning outcomes. The LMS is hosted on our own private cloud, which has high scalability and reliability. The blockchain technology is utilized, and there is an inclusion of QR code, barcode, and blockchain hash on the certificates, which provides authenticity and verifiability of the issued certificates by the Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College. The environment around us, which includes the air, water, and other biotic and abiotic components, is an integral part of our lives, without which our survival is not possible. Human health gets significantly affected due to the quality of air, water, and soil. We have always faced challenges with the repercussions of our activities, such as industrial, agricultural, solid waste, and many more, despite knowing the fact that environment offers unlimited ecological, economical, and recreational opportunities for the mankind. We have been exploiting the environment for various resources for centuries, regardless of whether we need them or not. As rightly said by Dr. Jane Goodall, you cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. With this thought, an online 2-week refresher course on the theme of environment and human health has been developed so that teachers from different disciplines learn and understand the implications of anthropogenic activities on environment and human health. At the same time, it is pertinent to realize the human potential to protect our species from the impacts of ecological and environmental risks. In the current environmental conditions, this course can prove to be highly beneficial, not just for one's health, but also for the health of those around you. Moving ahead to the next segment of our program, Ramanujan College, under the stewardship of our principal, Professor S.P. Bhuvan, has conducted innumerable online as well as offline FTPs through the Teaching Learning Center, thus imparting training to more than 150,000 teachers. I now take this immense pleasure to invite Professor S.P. Gurwal sir, Principal and Director, Teaching Learning Center, to welcome our dignitary as well as the audience. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon and welcome to all the dignitaries, colleagues, and the participants who are always very keen to join most of our programs of capacity building. Friends, once again, I welcome you, especially our chief guest, Professor Subramaniam, who is an authority in this area. I was just talking to you that I was just talking to him. He's basically an expert in rivers. And we are happy that he has accepted our invitation and will speak to you, because he's the man, whom all of us would like to listen. My colleague, Dr. Tenjin Thakur, other colleagues who are, part of this program, and participants who are always, are eager to learn. And this is a kind of a topic which is basically very simple: environment and human health. Well, anybody, any educated person, even not educated person, will understand that the environment and human health are quite interrelated. And today, most of our problems, whether our lifestyle diseases or most of our virus-borne diseases and water-borne diseases, or even the COVID and other diseases, they are basically, the ignorance, or we can say that not taking care of our environment in a right way. Well, as I said, I'm not an expert in this area, but briefly, I would like to say a few things of my own experiences. Well, first of all, the main thing I would urge upon everyone is that after learning few of the things from here, you must practice it. That is one thing. Practice it. Whether you are at your home, you are in your own institution, or you are at anywhere else. So practice those small things. Do not just say that, okay, it is the job of the government, it is the job of the society, it is the job of others. No, please don't do that. See, it is everybody's job. It is now a kind of a revolution where everyone has to contribute. All of us, visit various places, whether you go to see your rivers, you go to your jungles, you go to your safaris, you go to your beaches where, we enjoy everything, but just see their conditions. And who is responsible for this? Mainly the human beings, mainly we ourselves. That is That is my feeling. Yes, there are other factors also, because for our own sake, for our greed, we have exploited the environment. See, recently, just today itself, I'm coming back from Goa, and I saw a exhibition which is called as Bigfoot, and see the traditional village of Goa, how it looks like. So let us adopt those traditions, because they were all environment friendly. They were all environment friendly. And today, in order, in terms of bringing the economic growth, we are doing everything which is against the nature. Of course, the growth is extremely important. Everything is important, but now we have started talking of sustainable development. Well, what is sustainable development? Not at the cost of the environment. Development should take place, but it should take care of the environment, as it is important. Whether, now environment relates to energy resources, water resources, land resources, natural resources, and every resource which is important for the development has to be taken care of. Very, very important. In India or elsewhere, wherever you go, you will see the problem is basically created by human beings, or we can say the people who are using those resources, and we are not using them in the right manner, and that has affected everybody's health. Even to some extent, I can say that the green revolution, which was started in way back in 70s, of course, it has made us self-sufficient. But what I feel is that has given every chemical to all the human beings, because that was fertilizer-based revolution. If we could have thought of a revolution without those fertilizer, probably things would have been much, much better. And now we have to bring a revolution which we can, keep our food safe or environment friendly, or we can say the, free from chemicals and fertilizers. So that is what it is important. As an institution, I can say that we will show you a film of 2 minutes on environment, what kind of initiatives we have taken, whether with respect to energy resources. We are producing 150 kVA of solar energy in this institution. We have 2 water recharging bodies. We have water storages. We have solid waste management. We have green waste management. We have plastic recycling, which we get it done through others, and e-waste also disposal, we do it in a proper way. So all those initiatives, if taken by every household, if taken by every institution, if taken by every society, probably things can be improved. Things can be much, much better for our children and grandchildren, because what we are doing is we are exploiting the natural resources, we are exploiting the resources, and we are not thinking about our future generations, which is the major problem today. And it is not only in our country but all over the world. So with this, friends, I will not speak because I'm not an expert. I'm talking a very general things, but experts will explain to you better. So I can say that once again we welcome Professor Subramaniam and other colleagues and all of you who have decided to join this course. And I'm sure after learning the basic things, you will take forward it to your research as well as to your classroom teaching, because that is the only way to apply, and you will apply those learnings in your day-to-day life. With this, once again, thank you very, very much. Over to Nidhi.
Thank you so much, sir. We now welcome our chief guest for today, Emeritus Professor V. Subramanian from School of Environmental Sciences, JNU, Delhi. Presently, he is working as a visiting guest faculty at Terry School of Advanced Studies, New Delhi. He has a specialization in environmental chemistry, river water quality and quantity, environmental quality, EIA, water and environment, and the list goes endless. His last official assignment outside of teaching was that he completed MP State Environment Assessment Committee member of 2 terms from January 2008 till November 2013. His present academic engagements include he takes classes for MTech and MSc students on various topics related to integrated watershed management, applied hydrology, environmental pollution control at TERI, and earlier he did the same at Amity and before retirement at JNU. Some of the non-teaching positions held by him was he was a member of SEACMP since April 2008 till 2013. So far, he has handled over 1,000 such cases over the last 5 years, including field visits to controversial sites in MP. He has been extensively involved with NGO for slum children education and has also brought out simple booklet on environment awareness for different states in India. He has been the editor-in-chief at Asian Journal of Water, Environment and Pollution since 2004. Some of his research projects from national and international funding agencies involve whole of South Asia, including regions such as the Narmada Valley, Tawa Reservoir, Tapti River, Ganges, Brahmaputra, and the list is endless. Amongst a very small number of professors in environmental science, his studies have been cited as global contributor in Stanford University, or as per a report on contribution to various sciences from India 2020. Some of the honors that have been given to him are Hans Fellow from Institute of Advanced Study, Delmenhorst, Germany, Palm Fellow, University of Uppsala, Governor of Orissa nominee on the Selection Committee for Environmental Studies. Sir has also been a Fulbright visiting scholar at Yale University. He cleared his JRF CSIR from Jadavpur University. We welcome you, sir. I now request you to give your presidential address. Over to you.
Thanks, all of you. I hope you can all hear me. And welcome to all of you for this meeting. First time I'm coming to the Ramanujan College. And it's an established name, at least in honor of somebody, mathematician, well known to those who are working in science and social sciences. And straight away, since I'm targeted to give you broad ideas about various matters connected to our environment, I'm going to briefly skip over. I've given this very first slide, my affiliations and address detail. Now, what are the main issues? What are the...
excuse me, sir, can you share your screen? Yeah.
You should have done this before. You can all see these slides now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have outlined in this slide key concerns in environmental science. It goes through the whole bandwagon of everything you can think of: water, biodiversity, waste management, energy, natural resources and mineral resources management, pollution issues, climate changes, population increase or decrease rates, land use changes, urbanization. There's a long shopping list of problems that we need to be addressed to, and I don't intend to go through each one of them. It's not possible in the time that is allotted to me. I'll highlight a few things so that you can get a broad idea what are important. In this slide, for example, I have chosen waste, solid and liquid waste, hazardous, non-hazardous, etc. And what are the issues concerning them? Soil pollution, sourcing, composting, dispersal, processing issues, and recycling issues. They continue to haunt us even today. The natural resources, you have not only biological resources, but natural geological resources like various minerals that we use on day-to-day basis, not only for a building material, also even our solid state and semiconductor, everything depends on natural mineral that we are extracting from the earth, and they are running out of time on that thing. So similarly, you have fertilizers and things like many aspects that requires minerals contribution to that fossil fuel. That is an important contribution to the energy sector, and we are still very much dependent on fossil fuel, even though there's an increasing attempts are being made to diversify on that front. But energy, one of the problem is first generation, the technological input into that, how clean can you go to nano or bio sources of energy? All are being attempted at different scale at different places from time to time. So still efforts are being made. These are all basically work in progress. Similarly, pollution, all of us are aware, even school children are aware about air, water, soil, and many other pollution issues. There's only a few of the things I highlighted in this. Now, one of the reasons I highlighted these things, if you look into the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of 2030, that is what is known as a Sustainable Development Goal that is attempted to be achieved by 2030. Constantly, of course, is being revised from time to time. It was first millennium goal. Now it has become a 2030 goal because certain things could not be achieved. If you notice, I have highlighted issues which are centered around water, food, and energy, WEF, almost similar to World Economic Forum. In fact, they identified these as a key issues that should be an important sort of a focus on the developmental issues that United Nations can address it. So of the 17 goals that the Sustainable Development has targeted, more than half of them are related to water, food, and energy. Now, one of the important things that human activities that has caused is impact on the natural system. That's environmental impact assessment. Now, the assessment has to be done in multiple sectors. For example, in terms of social sector, economic sector, ecological development sector, then environmental protection sector. They combine all of them together, you get a very small window of commonality and overlapping approaches, positive approaches that may give you some sort of idea about the sustainability developmental approach to any human activities. Is an example here, the actual data points in terms of human footprint, human developmental index, and eco footprint. Obviously, they don't go hand in hand. They are exactly going in opposite direction. You can see here, the more ecological footprint, where human development index are also very high. Most of the developed countries, the human development index is centered on using parameters which are, plus, 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 plus in everything. So obviously that has put a sort of a high pressure point on the land that we have to use, ecological footprint. So those countries, mostly Western countries, having a very high level of HDI, also have a very high level of eco footprint. That means they require to have a very high extracting materials from nature, both the bio and non-bio material from nature, then only they can achieve the human development index. But there are few countries like Scandinavian countries, like Finland, Denmark, Sweden, etc. They are sort of a transition phases. They have a very good HDI without having a very high eco footprint. That means they manage to maintain a good balance without sacrificing the human development index. On the other hand, most of the other countries in the world, including India, China, etc., they are all in the bottom line. That eco footprint is very small. We have still not learned the ability to extract everything from the natural system, both bio and non-bio components. And our human development index happened to be very small to medium. So this is basically that we are all the time aiming for a human development.
Yeah, I signed it. Okay. Yeah, I'm just keeping it. Thank you.
Nidhi, can you mute yourself, please? Yeah. Sorry, sir.
Okay. And what is a sustainable development? According to definition on Environmental Commission in the 1987 way back, sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In very simple terminology, all it means, you live, you do well, but leave something for the next generations to come. That is what the target of sustainable development. So this is indicated here in a more graphical way. For example, you have a certain objectives in environmental assessment. You have certain objectives in economic assessment. You also have a certain objective in social assessment. So you need to have a three-way economic, social, environmental issues combined together, overlapping assessment. That is what the sustainable development goal should be. That means you should not develop one of the sectors at the cost of the other. All the three has to go hand in hand. That's what basically it means. You see here now, let us take, for example, water sector. Since water is important, both from the UN Millennium Development Goal perspective, let me focus on a little bit on water, little bit more here. We know very well water in civilization. All civilizations in the world are more or less evolved, centered around the rivers of the world or some water bodies in the world. either the Ganges, the Indus, or the Nile, or the Euphrates. All these rivers, at one point in time or other, have created many ongoing civilizations. Some of them have sustained, some of them perished, some of them continue to exist even today with various modifications. And some of the civilization also perished because they did not manage the water properly, or certain impact took place in the water sector. So the civilization either moved out or suffered a major thing. Example is the Indus Valley civilization. We talk about the Indus Valley civilization, and an example of how people have lived way back several thousands of years ago in the Indian subcontinent. One of the reasons that is being speculated by scientists who are working on climate change today, looking into the past climate change during the period of Indus Valley civilization, one of the reasons they had to move out of the area, the Indus River, on the shore of which they were thriving, became dry due to shifting climate way back 4,000, 5,000 years ago. It's not only today we are talking about climate change. Way back also, changing climate scenario has made some civilization vanish, move, or migrate. So it's not only today phenomena. We may have to be ready for today in a similar approach, because all civilization from time N0 to even today and the future civilizations to come are going to be very much regulated by water. How do you move this further? Slides. Move ऊपर जाइए. अच्छा ऊपर जाना. ना. Okay. 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 This we discussed about the civilization. Now, water sector. What are the major issues? The present generation will have to keep in mind, because we are constantly facing pressures on water. Not only Delhi, India, many parts of the world are facing the pressure. I've just briefly outlined here major issues in the water sector that one has to address, not necessarily all in one go, but in a sort of a sequential manner. Availability and accessibility, equity and sustainability, dependability and economic components of that, political and policy matters, role of governance and legal issues, the public perception and public response, monitoring and enforcement, particularly in relation to use of water, pollution of water, etc., waste and recycling issues, natural and man-made variability, supply chain management, and various types of water, blue, black, gray, and virtual water. How do you manage them? Dams, reservoirs, and other abstracting technology possible. Then finally, you put all of them together in a holistic way, what is popularly known as a decision support system, where everybody has a stake, or all stakeholders needs to be consulted, involved, roped in to make matters worse. So in a simple thing like a water, you have so many issues are involved. For example, I will tell you this dependability. Why I mentioned dependability here? All of us now in India, in all the major cities and rural areas, etc., we tend to store water. Why we tend to store water? We store water in various size of containers or overhead tank, either plastic tank, syntax tank, or the concrete tank. Why we have to store water? Because the availability of water from supplying agencies, which is basically municipality, is no longer dependable. It's not dependable when you want it. You go for a bath, you open the tap, so you get only gas, that is air. You don't get water because it's not dependable. Supply timing, supply duration, and supply rate, they are no longer dependable because it's a social issue, political issue, governance issue. So everybody, every one of us in the world, in India, we store water to various levels. And when we store water, and at certain point in time later, the water becomes available quite a lot, such as in monsoon, we tend to throw away those stored water because I have a psychological problem of using a stored old water. People think it's going to cause a lot of diseases, rightly or wrongly so. So we throw the water. So dependability leads to storage, non-dependability leads to storage, and storage leads to waste of water in a large scale. So like that, each one of the issues are pointed out here. There are a lot of big stories behind each one of them, and it can be easily developed and pointed out without any problem. And major demand that we are facing is a mismatch between the supply and demand. Rate of change in demand and rate of change in supply. At no point in the distant past, when the population pressure was lower, Obviously, the demand was less than the supply. So everybody had per family unit, per annual basis or monthly basis or daily basis, more than enough water available in the system. But as the population increased, demand also obviously increased, and demand increased because also lifestyle changes. And as a result, now we have crossed over already. The supply now is less than the demand, and the gap is going to widen in the decades to come. So the younger generations, particularly all the students, when you are getting older, you are going to face this issue in a more critical way. And not all of them are necessarily related to climate change. It's a sort of a temperature plot of the climate change until 2020, just the beginning of the pandemic. You can see here, nobody in the world disagrees that climate is changing. Nobody disagrees now. Almost everybody in the world, every politician, every scientist of different colors and breeds and specializations, they do agree that climate seems to be changing. But there are multiple opinions, of course, as to what are the basic causes and drivers for the climate change, and what are the potential consequences, and what is the degree of change. Is it changing by 1 degree? Is it changing by 1.5 degree? Is it changing by 2 degree? Most recently, international governmental organizations together agreed that in order to maintain that climate situation as of today, you need to sort of reduce the rate of change. So what is important here? The rate of change, not the absolute value of change. You have changed very low in the past, almost 0.2, 0.4 degree per decade. That is, now you are changing plus 0.2, plus 0.5, even 1.0 per decade. The rate of change has changed quite a lot. So in natural processes, particularly in regard to climate change, the rate of change is one of the major drivers. And we need to address that, because rate of change is primarily because our supply-demand mismatch in everything under the sun. Now, where does it proceed? Okay. Now, you see here, I have outlined briefly various sectors and drivers in the water, because you need water for many functions. They are each one of the supply demand, each one is a driver. And there are various sectors in which management has to address the issue: supply chain management, demand side management, then governance system, administrative system, technical component. So these are the tools with which the various demands have to be met and managed as well. So these are a typical approach in terms of assessment of water resources one has to take into account when you want to look into the water problem. What is speculated now, because of the potential changes in the climate that is taking place right in front of us, future climate change scenario is going to be not very healthy to look at. Here is sort of a rough plot based on various models which I developed in earlier years, that for incremental change in the mean temperature of the Earth, the atmosphere, corresponding to incremental change in the carbon dioxide concentration, what is the degree of precipitation likely to change? So one in common sense know that if the Earth is becoming warmer, there will be more evaporation. If there are more evaporation, the following monsoon is going to be more precipitation. That's what one would expect it. Yes, this is very simple logic, absolutely correct. But what is not expected, given the pattern of change is taking place in front of us, the shifting pattern of monsoon. And India very much depends on monsoon. Almost all the Asian countries depends on monsoon for survival. The monsoon has been shifting for the last few decades. So even if the amount of change, evaporation is very high, it may rain a lot, but it may rain a lot in the wrong place at the wrong time. So in other words, the main food growing areas in India, for example, the Gangetic Plain, MP, UP, Bihar, Punjab, Haryana, etc., main food growing areas, and certain parts of central India and southern India, they will be potentially affected because the direction of the movements of cloud, monsoonal cloud, and the intensity of the cloud, where it is going to deposit the rain or not, this is having observation. Change has been observed in the recent decades. It's an observed change. So based on that, it is expected, no doubt it will be a more precipitation overall, but it will be at the wrong place at the wrong time. So actual food security may become a major issue in the decades to come. Already estimates have been made by various climate scientists. There's going to be a serious levels of damages in billions of dollars in various sectors. Of course, agriculture sector is going to get the maximum hit. Like more $53 billion is going to get affected. Forestry, of course, next, and certain energy sectors. So many of the sectors that water is the essential component is going to get a big hit because of the changing pattern of climate. You can see here in terms of a integrated framework for climate change. So you look into the climate change from different scenarios, that climate change, what are the drivers, primary drivers, emissions and concentrations of various emanates from the various urban areas, industrial sectors, etc. Then you have an impact on them, socio-economic developmental profile. It affects the public health, because we know very well in Delhi, those who live in Delhi, we have seen every year, last 40 years I've been seeing, come October, it's become smoggy, no longer foggy, but smoggy, because it's smoggy with a lot of carbon particle, because burning of agricultural waste in Haryana and Punjab area, that is being cited as a major cause for that, and that it has not been addressed effectively. So every year there is a health issue in northern India, and all because of change pattern of climate movement, weather movement, temperature, and the appearance, the disappearance of monsoon, and delayed starting of a winter season, etc. So it has a social health related spin-off as a result. So this is a ground reality. One need to address them. Now, one of the requirement also, we are talking not of the human being only affected by ground reality, very much aquatic organisms are also affected. I mentioned about biodiversity earlier, one of the key issues in environment. This is an example of biodiversity related thing. A recently law has been passed by government after recognizing the fact that aquatic organisms, they require a minimum ecological flow, eco-flow, known as eco-flow. They're using Ganges as a first example to propagate this law. The law has been enacted now. It is in enforcement from 2020. What is the law? Now, the Ganges River withdrawal of water for various purposes, agriculture or industry or power, etc. For that purpose, the river has been divided into two sections. One is the upper section having the glacier related water input, and mid section, agriculture and industries, small captive power plants are based. All these sectors are affected, and a limit has been set based on research. The limit has been set how much minimum flow should be guaranteed during the low flow time, during the high flow time, dry season, lean season, wet season, etc. Both for the two sections of the Ganges River. Why? Because the Ganges River is a home to Gangetic dolphin. And dolphin is a big organism, is a big fish. And they cannot speak, but they die because there is no water. The water is being withdrawn for small captive power plants, or withdrawn for agriculture, or diverted for religious purposes. So they are suffered. So ecological flow is affected. Not just the amount of water is affected, ecological flow, and quality is also affected. So the government has propagated a law now. It is a gazetted notification. It's a law now for the Ganges River. That means it's now official recognition at the governance level. A river must have a breathing space. River carrying the water must have a breathing space so that the organism, plants and aquatic organism living in the river will get some breather from human impact. And this policy decision now implemented should also be extended to all other aquatic bodies in the country, because it's not only the Ganges. Ganges got the attention because it's a Navami Ganga mission, but other rivers also suffer by the same potential problem of organisms, fishes dying. Brahmaputra is suffering due to Brahmaputra dolphin, Himalayan dolphin. They are a victim there because of a navigation now. Now big ships are going from the Ganges through Bangladesh into Brahmaputra. What is going to happen to the dolphins of Brahmaputra? They are blind. They're actually not blind, but they can navigate through very thick silt in the water. So they don't need to actually see where they navigate. But in the process, big steamer with the mechanized blade, etc., they are all become victim for that. So they face a different sets of pressure issues in the Brahmaputra, and they have no ground rule as a minimum flow. Eco flow has been worked out for Brahmaputra so far, because bulk of the Brahmaputra is coming from Tibet. Almost 50% of the length of the Brahmaputra water, it is in Tibet, which is outside the control of India. And the lower 1/3 of the river is in Bangladesh. Again, we have no control on that. So for Brahmaputra, a similar eco flow has not yet been worked out. It is a loud thinking is going on how to manage it. But similar thinking has not been initiated for other rivers in India, which are also seriously affected. Now, biodiversity is one of the important components in environment today. It's the talk of the town because India is one of the most diverse nation biologically. The biodiversity in India is one of the highest in the world. About a dozen countries in the world, India is among the dozen countries where we have very rich flora and fauna. Numbers are available. Anybody can look up into that. But at the same time, India also have a number of biological hotspots. That means threatened. The biological diversity in India at 4 locations, 4 regions are highly threatened. When biodiversity is threatened, they are threatened when the endemic species or native species in a given area, they are facing either extinction or great threat. Then it's known as a sort of a hotspot of biodiversity. India has got a major biodiversity hotspot, even though it's also major biodiversity rich nations in the world. So we have a quickie whammy scenario. We have very large sort of a repository of natural biological system, both in plants and animals, but we also have a high pressure point that there are actually hotspots have emerged in 4 major locations: Eastern Himalayas, Western Ghat, the Andaman Islands, and in between island nation, very multiple islands in the Lakshadweep and etc. So there are 4 or 5 major regions in the Indian subcontinent which are a biological hotspot today. So we need to address them as a major issue in environment today. Now, there are many ways in which things are being attempted. For example, now the thinking in any process that requires manufacture is one of the major thinking, look into a life cycle analysis. That is, look into everything that a human being making, is a computer or a mouse or a bicycle or a pencil, for example, even a simple writing pencil, pen, etc. Whatever manufacturing process, the thinking today in order to make everything sustainable is what is known as a life cycle analysis. In the life cycle analysis, you are looking into from cradle to grave. That is the moment you are extracting a resource from the cradle, from minimum necessary for manufacturing of a pencil, for example. You require a wood, you require a lead, you require a graphite, resources. Then how you are going to handle the resources? You are going to put some energy, water, etc. in the manufacturing process of a pencil. Then you come out with the end product pencil. What is the purpose of the end product to use for writing? What do you do when the last few millimeter of pencil you have reached it? You throw it away, a waste. So now the concept of life cycle analysis, don't waste. Try to recover it as a potential source for the next cycle of product generation. So the concept is the life cycle analysis, minimize waste at every process, at every stage, and reuse, recycle, and basically reduce the original resource pressure on nature. This concept is now officially accepted internationally. Now there are rules and regulations now government has brought up in manufacturing sector. We have to first produce your recycling technology you are going to use. And you have to produce also how much you are wasting. Are you wasting energy? Are you wasting water? Or are you wasting resources available? How you are wasting it? How are you going to minimize it? And what are you going to do the end product? End product you are sending it to the consumer, and consumer is going to throw it away after some time. That's what is happening to electronic waste today. Electronic product people, they are not worried about that because they want to sell more mobile, more TV, more mouses, etc. into the market. They are not worried. But a user, for example, I have some old monitor, let us say. After some time, the monitor becomes useless. It cannot be upgraded. Condemn it. How do you condemn it? It has a lot of valuable natural resources over which it has been built. And it's very difficult, very expensive to recycle the electronic waste. So even in the high end that you are currently using, We are not forgot about pencil. In my generation, we were using pencil. Now the students don't know pen and pencil because everything on electronic mode. Not only learning has become electronic mode, even teaching has become electronic mode. As a result, we end up wasting a higher level, different level of natural resources. The electronic goods require a lot of rare elements. As you know, the war between Ukraine and Russia currently going on. The rare elements affecting the production of semiconductor manufacture around the world. So most of the automobile industry are suffering because they are not able to get the semiconductors. The semiconductor raw material mostly confined to in two major countries, Ukraine and Russia. So now, because of the war situation, they are facing the supply chain management in even the modern goods. So the prices of TVs and other things have gone up because they are not available now. Semiconductors are not available because of the natural resources blocked in selective regions of the world. So the life cycle analysis is to look into, in a holistic way, from cradle to grave scenario, how much you can minimize the waste generation in the process. Now, for example, I'm thinking about the plastics here. Plastics is entirely a man-made project from natural resource, that is a fossil fuel. The product of petroleum refining is plastic. It's a generalized term plastic. There are so many subcomponents in the plastic. There are so many polymers in them. I've given here roughly the scale order of magnitude, how in India, we think India, we are not using much of plastic. 1990 to 2020, you can see in 1990, less than 1 million tons of plastics were used. Whereas in 2020, we are making nearly 18 million tons, 18 times higher over a period of 30 years. There are other countries, case worse than us. For example, USA, 53 million they are using today. Germany, 32 million tons. China is about the same order as India. But however, one good happy lining in the plastic as far as India is concerned, from July 1, 2022, ban on single-use plastics will come into effect in India. It was originally thought to be brought just around 2020 January, but because of the pandemic broke down in March, the entire pandemic period, which is still currently going on, a very high level of single plastic use, because nature of the pandemic disease required use and throw approach. So now that the pandemic seems to be on a live low, or at least under good control in various parts of the world, India has now officially indicated to the World Organization, from July 1, they are banning the single-use plastic. It's one thing to ban it. It remains to be seen how effectively it will be implemented. Because India is very notorious for making a lot of rules and regulation, but very poor in implementation. It remains to be seen. But there are a few sectors where some sort of good ideas have come up. We know very well, all the time we go with plastic bottles, and even I'm sitting into a glass bottle where the water is filled up with the plastic things. Now you can see in Sikkim and Gangtok, they developed water bottles, bamboo water bottle. It was developed during the pandemic. That innovative technology is the sort of a help of many NGOs, locally available material used, and water bottles lifelong. You require only one water bottle in your life. You can refill it wherever you go. You only carry it with you. And it is a sustainable economic goal and sustainable economic approach. This is a reality. It has happened in India. So simultaneously, little bit efforts are made to address to single plastic use, but it's a long way to go. We know very well in the water sector, we have a lot of things happening, like a day zero situation that happened in Cape Town. When the Indian cricket team was in Cape Town, the team members were told in their hotel that you cannot take shower for more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes because the town was going dry in terms of water. In India, of course, many urban areas, including Delhi, we already know the pressure on water supply in urban areas. And we generally take precaution ourselves, whether the government tells us or not, implements it or not. It is expected in India, in the decades to come, at least 10 major cities, including Bangalore, going to have a serious water situation similar to that of Cape Town scenario. Now, you hear here the day zero, a flight to the Bangalore is approaching now. According to some of the map produced by Down to Earth, this NGO organized Down to Earth, there are about 21 cities, not just 10 cities, 10 cities this decade. Overall, 21 cities in the next decade maybe are going to be covered into some severe case of Cape Town type water scenario. Why? Because more than half of Indian population, various levels of water stress we have been facing. Now, what has happened now, government has also woken up very well how to manage the water scenario in India in an integrated way, integrated management of water resources. So the Niti Aayog in 2019, they brought out the concept of composite water management index. I will not go into too much detail on that since it's not a technical group of people who are listening to that. But overall, they looked into many parameters, how much each state in the country using fresh water, how much they are economizing on that, how much they are recycling it, are they doing a mixed match of groundwater and surface water, rainwater, then conservation of water, then changes in the water table in various parts of the country. So n number of parameters were included and calculations were made, index was developed. So generally it was found those states in the country which are having a higher economic growth, such as Delhi, Gujarat, etc., they also tend to have a poor water index. So this was a general observation that was arrived at. Now, then a map was prepared for India. What is the index for water? Composite Water Management Index 2019. The region which are all covered red, management is poor. It has a long way to go. The region having a green, management is good, including Gujarat, which has a low water availability. But because of that, they are always under pressure. They manage it very well. Same is the story in certain parts of Andhra and Tamil Nadu as well. Whereas Kerala, Northeast, a lot of water they have. After all, monsoon starts from Kerala. A lot of waterfalls in the monsoon, Southeast, Northeast India. The management scenario is very poor. So these are the areas why the government is now thinking, leave the responsibility of managing the water resources to each state by combining all the components of water management that is required to be handled at the ground level. You can't sit in Delhi and pass laws. So that approach now is accepted. In addition, you also have a different technology now, innovative technology that has now come into being, how to make water accessible to many population. Because I pointed out very early, the accessibility is a major issue. This is the ATM model of water availability, ATM card type. Now it's smart card driven. And this technology is spreading in many parts of India, including parts of Rajasthan, parts of Bangalore, major cities in the country. Delhi is late to catch up, but many other places, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, you have this water dispensing ATM available in many remote areas, many villages, and now it is upgraded into sort of a smart card operated. So like you are doing the bank, your credit card, debit card thing. So it's become very easy for a user, a slum people or in a poor neighborhood or isolated neighborhood to get fresh water available to them. So it has made a lot of difference. So these are all innovative ideas addressed in the thing. One other innovative idea is, can you get water from thin air? That is, air contains humidity. Always it contains some moisture. The French scientists developed a method to extract the moisture from the air and make it a drinkable water straight away. Because moisture in the air is pure. You have to learn the technology to extract it by a certain type of pumping mechanism, then distill that water, distillation system, and the water that comes out is a pure drinking water. They tested it on a project basis, and they are now using it in a few villages. And India also, this has now caught up very well. There are 5-6 companies who are now actually doing it in India. And there is one village in Andhra, a village about 1,000 people. They have no other source of water, except extracting water from air. The whole village is living on this thin air, water from thin air. Similarly, there are many companies in water-starved places like Chennai. Many companies, they don't get water. They require water for their survival, not only for the administrative thing, also for manufacturing, etc. They are resorting to getting this approach, a captive water capturing system in their buildings, in their factory areas, etc., so that water is available to them without putting pressure on the remaining system. So this is now catching up, is again a recent innovation in the last decade or so. And another innovation that has come, of course, desalination. Desalination is a relatively older technology. It was developed and invented by Israeli scientists because Israel has no river. So they invented it because they have no other water. They have only seawater. So they developed the technology and they sort of perfected it over a period of time. So they are living. The entire Israel is supplied only with the desalinated water. They sold this technology also to many other countries in Middle East. And if you go to many other Middle East things like Saudi Arabia, Dubai, etc., desalinated water is what you are getting. So the technology has become very popular, but India has been very late to caught on to that. Now there are 2 plants operation in India. One is in Tamil Nadu, what I have shown here, and another in Gujarat, Bhuj area in Gujarat. Again, a bigger plant compared to Tamil Nadu plant. Desalinated water is supplying to groups of villages in the coastal area. So this could be one of the future remedies to sort of locally solve the problem. And finally, to handle, you have to, since I outlined so many issues connected to water, you need to think in terms of what is known as the decision support system. A decision support system can be sort of separated into 7 broad categories. A data-driven decision support system, model-driven system, knowledge-driven system, document-driven system, communication-driven system, intra-organizational decision support system, and new breed of DSS which may emerge in the years to come because of changing technology like a cloud computing. Many new things have come now, many things will be added up in that. And this is an illustration where a DSS has actually been applied. The system was developed by scientists from IIT Mumbai. They implemented the system in a small watershed in Chhattisgarh. And if you look into that flow chart developed by them, it has an input from every component of society. Technologies, the financiers, the women group, working group, administrators, local villagers, basically everybody is a stakeholder. From technical part to non-technical part, administrative part, funding part, integrating all the information, all the approaches, and every sector given some responsibility. So that's what is known as a project management team. The team members consist of at least 1 or 2 from each of such interested people. And they have the responsibility to manage it by assigning responsibility and making sure it happens. They implemented it in a small watershed very successfully. And it can be replicated in a bigger system in a bigger way. So this sort of a management of water resources and management of natural resources in general, they require a composite approach because it is not possible to manage our environment, one person sitting in some part managing it. It is not possible because nature is an integrating function. In nature, everything works in tandem, not in isolation. If you do one thing, it has a domino effect on something else. That's why the climate change today we are facing, because we are extracting things from nature and putting into the atmosphere, disturbing the natural cycle of material, because rate process is different, because we are dealing different components of nature in an isolated way. But nature integrates everything, so the impact can be felt across the board. So this sort of a DSS approach is one way of looking into not only for water sector, approach similarly can be made for, let us say, energy sector. It can also be made for resources exploitation, can be used for a similar model for forest and biodiversity related question. So this is applicable across the board. I've given an example only for the water sector because one can understand the water sector, which is the most pressure point, how things can actually be done because it has been tested and proved to be done. So this was my last slide. I would rather invite people to ask me questions in whatever they would like to ask me. Feel free to ask me.
Thank you so much, Professor Subramaniam. Yes, as requested by Professor, if the participants, they have any question, they can please put it on the comment section so that I can then pass on your question to the Professor. Please, you're all free to put your questions in the comment section.
Anybody can put a question. I have no problem. You can ask either vocally, put on your microphone, you can ask. Feel free to ask. No problem in that for me. Maybe people are tired out.
Yes, Professor, actually, we are live, so the participants are listening to this session on live YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for the comments. If we have the comments or the questions, I'll just put across to you then.
Yeah. If I get question, I will answer. If I don't
Yes,
get
sir.
question, I can't answer. I'm open. I'm available here. No problem.
Very well, sir. So maybe we can wait for another 5 minutes and see.
Yeah, because you will run out of time.
Yes, sir.
There are anyway not too many participants. I notice the number is small.
Okay, so somebody is asking, what is thin air concept? I mean, you mentioned it somewhere in your session.
Yeah, okay. The thin air concept means water is contained in the atmosphere. We popularly call it humidity in the air. The word thin is used because sometimes the atmosphere layer is thick, sometimes it is thin. So the thin is used in a more colloquial way, but basically water from air, because air contains moisture. That's why air have some humidity. Even in peak of summer, when in month of May, air in Delhi will have maybe 10% water, maybe 5% water, always contains moisture. So extracting the moisture from the air, that is what is known as a thin film approach. So that's why the word thin air is used. Thick air also will have a lot of moisture. It can be extracted from that also. In a more colloquial way, the word thin is used in that. And this is a distillation process, pumping a large quantity of air into some type of distillation setup, and where the water condenses by distillation, and the condensed water is a pure water, straight away potable. No processing required.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. And the next question that we have from Payal Acharkar, she says that, can we set up any desalination center in Mumbai?
Yeah, it can center, of course. Desalination is a coastal area. It can be set up, quite possible. Any coastal region is possible to set up desalination. Any coastal area.
So, sir, why? Because we have a huge coastal line, India. So then, why Indian government is not managing its water?
Well, desalination is not a joke. I'll tell you why. Because about a decade ago, when many of the coastal areas in India were facing a lot of water problem, particularly during summer months, the Russian government at that time volunteered to have a nuclear managed ship desalination plant, which could be a mobile plant going all around the coast. As and when a particular region faces a problem, they can desalinate in the ocean itself, and the ship from the coast can come and collect the water and take it to the shore. So this plant, they proposed it because they produced a floating power plant, desalination power plant using nuclear technology. But then the idea was not accepted by the government because the cost of water per liter turns out to be too high. So then only people started thinking in the governance scenario, let us have some plant in India where it is viable. So they choose two states which always have a severe water problem, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu, because both are sort of a semi-dry areas. So because of that, this pressure is more higher and population density is also higher in both of them. So it was chosen in them as a test cases. So two plants now have been set up. I'm sure there is in the water management scenario, more and more such plants will come in the years to come. I'm sure it's going to happen more and more in other coastal parts as well.
Thank you, sir. So I have a personal question for you. So how do you think Delhi can actually, address the water issues that it has with the population influx and migration and the urban sprawl happening in Delhi?
The Delhi problem is a political problem. The Delhi local government declared 4 years ago that every family can have 10,000 liters of water free. And that is one of the worst policy decisions one can make. Unless you reduce the concept of populist policy matters in the water sector, the issues related to water in Delhi is not going to go away. Because you don't give water free, because clean water costs money. You spend a lot of money to clean the water which we have dirtied ourselves. So you cannot give it free. You can go to Vasant Vihar and other rich colonies in Delhi, for example. Water is used for washing cars. So what for you are spending, giving water free? Economically better off people can afford to pay for water. Why give them free? You give free for a slab scale, a poor neighborhood, minimum income, monthly income below that level, okay, water should be free for them up to some limit. Earlier, that system used to exist. As a populist measure, it was made free for everybody. So the Jal board doesn't get any money from anybody. For example, I have not got any water bill for last 4 years. I could afford to pay. I'm willing to pay. But no bill has come to me. Every month the bill comes, no, nothing due, nothing due. Somebody is paid to generate the bill, nothing due. So this is a criminal sort of a way to address a water issue. So long this sort of a poor policy decisions are made, it is not going to work out anytime soon. I'm sorry to say that.
Right. Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So we have 2 more last questions. I think if you can give us
No
time.
problem. No problem.
Yeah. So Mr. Vineet Vishnoi, he asked that, is there any upcoming policy regarding uncontrolled use of RO technology, which is depleting our groundwater as well, and is of course at the same time is not good for health?
You see, the RO technology actually wasting more water, because those who are having an RO plant in various households, you can see a lot of water is wasted in cooling the water. And there is no foolproof method to conserve the water which goes through that and reuse it again. This technology is very poor, very poor. So that is not a solution. In fact, that RO technology should be discouraged. But that is it's a business. It's not going to go away, however one may wish it to. It's not a good technology to apply for purifying water, particularly for domestic scale. But many colonies in Delhi, not only Delhi, other cities like Chennai also, many colonies have a very saline groundwater. And very saline groundwater, there is no other foolproof method other than RO. In that process, a lot of water is wasted in trying to make the saline water potable. So there's a double whammy. Or one thing, you are extracting the groundwater, which is saline, then you are spending more water to make it potable. So double whammy, loss of actual water resources. But then people who are living in those areas, what they will do? They have no other option. Government is not able to provide them a normal pipe to water. The pipeline doesn't reach many parts of Rohini, Dwaraka, etc. in Delhi. Similarly, in Chennai, many parts of the remote extension of the cities, water don't reach. Supply doesn't reach from municipal system. So how they will survive? Everybody resort to the survival sort of a question mark. They do their own innovative approach to do it. It's not good, but that's a ground reality.
Thank you, sir. So we have one last question from Mr. Atul Upureti. He says that water conservation is a must for sustainable development. Is there any model for sustainable water conservation in the area of agriculture?
That is where the water is wasted most. In agriculture, large percent of fresh water is utilized and wasted also. Because our irrigation practices, agricultural practices, they are not focused on conserving water. That is the area one should actually focus. But development has taken place and limited applications have also taken place in economizing water use in agriculture sector. If you can cultivate the same crop using a lesser amount of water. Israel is doing it. They are cultivating rice in Israel by sprinkler irrigation. and they're exporting the rice. We are also growing a lot of rice. India is one of the largest exporter of rice. And how much water we are wasting in the rice sector, rice alone, wheat alone, sugarcane alone. The waste of water in agri sector in India is among the highest in the world. And because of the wrong technology approach in the modern day concept, we end up actually losing out on that front. And unless you conserve water in that sector by things like a sprinkler technology or similar technology that may be suited to Indian condition, you are not able to prevent the waste of water. And you have to prevent that waste of water in order to balance the deficit and other issues in the water sector. That is one of the priorities also, I think, of the Indian government. That is why the composite water index have been developed. One of the items that goes into developing the index, how efficiently water is used in the irrigation sector in various states. By crop rotation, by mixing of crops, can they save the water so that the demand is less, and they don't have to supply more? So these are all the various drivers which have been put and quantified in the composite index of water. So the attempts are going in the direction. Is in India, everything will move a little bit slowly. It's not going to be a leap and bound. It will show its effect maybe in 15, 20 years later.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I think that was the last question that we've taken up for the session. So I think now it's time to sort of draw curtains to this inaugural session that we have had, which indeed was very informative and at the same time interesting. I'm sure all the participants, they've had a great session in the afternoon today. And so I would like to extend my vote of thanks, first of all, to our Chief Guest, Honorable Chief Guest Professor Subramaniam, for taking out time from his busy schedule and, of course, agreeing to coming to the college and address the session in the last minute. Thank you so much, Professor. I hope that we'll have a longer association with you. Especially, we would like to have our undergraduate students interact with you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And next, I would like to extend my thanks to Nidhi and Ashish, sir, who've been taking care of the course from the very beginning, from the very inception. And also my heartfelt thanks to our principal, Professor S.P. Agarwal, sir, who has always supported us in any sort of efforts that we have tried to make. Yeah, so thank you everyone. Last but not the least, but of course the participants who've all joined us from across the subcontinent, from South, from the Western India, and from Northeast as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating and joining us in this session. I hope you all have a great, informative, refresher course in this 2-week session that we are going to have. So thank you, everyone. The last I would like to say, the participants who are still on live, on the YouTube channel with us, if you have any query, any doubt regarding the refresher course, please put it on the comment section so that we can then address it. If you have any, we'll give you like maybe 10-15 minutes of the time. Meanwhile, we can say goodbye to Professor Subramaniam. Yeah. Meanwhile, you can all please put your questions on the comment section. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. आशीष सर, are you there?
Yes ma'am, yes ma'am.
मैं अभी देख रही हूँ, अगर कोई question हो
Sure, आप देख लीजिए, मुझे बता दीजिएगा.
जी जी.
Okay.
Okay.
मैम किसी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को कोई डाउट है?
हाँ सर, एक मिनट सर, एक मिनट। हाँ, मैं अभी सर एक पूछ रहे हैं, आई हैव यूज्ड 2 phone numbers, one while submitting the application form and the other for connecting with the Telegram app. Please inform me which number I should use in the submitting of the assignment.
Registration time.
Registration wala?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So participant Hangingam Indira, I think your doubt has been cleared. The number that you have to use is the one you've used while registration. And then there's asking, is only quiz to submit or any assignment? Ma'am, there is only quiz right now. Assignment will be posted on Sunday. Assignments will be posted only on Sunday. All the participants, there will be quiz after every session.
मैम असाइनमेंट्स डेली बेसिस पर होंगे, कुछ लेक्चर्स के असाइनमेंट्स होंगे, कुछ लेक्चर्स पे क्विजेस तो सारे हर लेक्चर पे जाएंगी, बट असाइनमेंट्स जो होंगे वो वीकडेज पे होंगे, बट बैकलॉग जो सबमिशन होगा वो होगा। मैम मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हेलो, हाँ जी सर।
हाँ, मैं ये बोल रहा था कि असाइनमेंट्स तो लेक्चर बेस्ड होंगे, मतलब ये नहीं कि वीकेंड्स पे ही मिलेंगे आपको असाइनमेंट। असाइनमेंट्स आपको लेक्चर बेस्ड होंगे, बट क्विजेस आपको डेली बेसिस पे मिलेंगे।
ठीक है सर।
Right?
I think it is, yeah, it is. I think it is very much clear to the participants also. So there was a little miscommunication for the assignments and for the quiz. So you'll have quiz on the daily basis, and as far as the assignments are concerned, you'll have on the weekdays, right? So that will depend on the sessions, on the lectures. So all the information will be there on the portal regarding the quiz and the assignment. In fact, Telegram group जो बना है आपका, right? It will always be filled with information, whether it's regarding the quiz, that quiz is uploaded on the portal, or if it is for the assignment, it will be there on the portal only. So you'll have to always look for the assignment and the quiz on the portal.
And I just want to confirm, clear one thing, that we will not share any quiz, any assignment, any course content on the Telegram or on the mail. We will, the participants should visit the portal regularly basis for the quiz assignments. If deadline has been crossed, then we are not responsible to submit the quiz and assignments, right? And it is mandatory to submit the feedback also.
Assignments will be and quiz will be only posted on the portal.
Portal only, not on the Telegram group, or not on the email. Through email, yes. We are not sending any content through email or in we are providing only information in Telegram group. If there is any information.
Yeah, Mr. Naveen है वो कह रहे हैं कि sir, for e-registration I have not received the activation link, so I register with a different email ID. Is it okay?
Hi, it is okay, no issue. We will put the detail of certificate form in between of the courses. Then they can fill the both email ID that from which they are registered and from which they have submitted the quiz and assignment.
Yes, all the sections will be posted on RC MOOCs. All the lectures that we have, yes, only on the RC MOOCs. Yeah.
Yes, that is the course portal we have send in the email or Telegram group. That is ehh.rcmoocs.in. All the course content, quiz, assignment, recorded sessions will be available in this portal only.
Yes, Mr. Bhardwaj, we have rectified it, but since all the participants who have already, submitted the quiz, that cannot be altered, but we have rectified the error already. Thank you so much. Yes, participant Indira, we have a feedback form. Feedback form will be there for every session, for every lecture, and it is mandatory to fill that feedback form.
And also the feedback form is also within the portal only, not in Telegram, not in email.
Sir, task complete, assignment और quiz का time पूछ रहे हैं, कब तक commit करना है?
Ma'am, we are providing 1 day for the quiz and assignment. That's a for the today lecture. The participant will submit the quiz and assignment till tomorrow. 24 hours.
Okay. So you've got 24 hours to submit your assignments and your quiz. Yes, ma'am, Manthana, every participant who will be needing attendance certificate, they will get it at the end of the course, for which a Google link will be generated and will be shared with you. So all the relevant information will be there only.
Yes, we will provide a link Google form in between the course that participants should submit their NOC in that form. Then only we can provide the relieving letter or attendance certificate. We will provide only participation certificate if they are not submitting the NOC or relieving letter from their institute.
Right. Yeah. So NOC is important from your institute.
Yeah. If they need NOC from our side, then they should submit the NOC from their institute. Otherwise, we will provide the participation certificate.
Sir, the lectures on the portal will be available for like how many hours? For 24 hours, or it will be throughout the course?
Throughout the course.
Okay. Okay. So the sessions, the lectures will be available on the portal throughout the course. Because we told you that it's self-paced completely. So yeah.
But ma'am, quiz and assignments have the deadline. Participants should follow that deadline.
Sorry, sir.
Quiz and assignments have deadlines to submit.
Yes, sir. Yes. I think that is it then. We're not getting any more questions then. Okay, sir. Ashok Kamar Shekhawat, he's asking, when I try to sign in, the password is wrong. I think I've forgotten my password for signing in.
So I think he's using the RC MOOCs credentials. So first he should create an account in new portal, that is ehs.rcmoocs.in. Then he will try to sign in with that portal with these credentials. Please don't log in with the credential which you have created at the time of registration. Use the credential that you have create the account at the new portal, that is ehs.rcmoocs.in. Then log in. I think there should be no problem at that time.
Miss Salina, assignments will be posted only on the portal, course portal.
Yes, posted in the course portal. We are not, participants should go through the FAQ that we have already mentioned there. There is no communication through the email is accepted, like submission of the assignment or submission of quiz or submission of feedback form. We are not accepting your task on the email or in Telegram group or in any personal chat. We will accept your task only within the portal if they are submitted in portal.
Ashish sir, can you once again tell the participants the information regarding NOC and attendance certificate? There are a couple of comments. Hello, Ashish sir.
Hi, hello, ma'am. आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ जी आ रही है sir. Thank you.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay, no problem.
So participants should we will provide a Google form in between the course. Then participants should submit their NOC in that form if they want relieving from our side, right? Otherwise, it is not compulsory. We will provide the participation certificate only, not attendance certificate. If they need attendance certificate, then they should provide NOC from their institute. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
it is not compulsory form. If they want relieving from our side, then they should submit the NOC from their side.
Yeah, I hope the confusion is clear now, right? So if you need an attendance certificate, right, you have to give us an NOC from your institute, right? And all of that will be there on the Google link, which will be provided during the course of time. Yeah. No, certificate of participation, for that you do not require an NOC. Ashish sir,
Yes,
participation के लिए तो नहीं
for the
चाहिए।
certificate of participation, we not required any
Yeah,
NOC.
yeah.
For the attendance certificate or relieving letter, they need NOC to submit NOC.
Yeah. So only for relieving letters and for attendance certificates, we require an NOC. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so I think ये NOC and relieving letter का ही ज़्यादा questions थे mostly. So I think we are done for the day then. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Ashish sir, for addressing all the doubts and the queries. Thank you. Thank you so much, participants. I think we are done for the day. And from the next sessions that we'll have on the portal will be posted there itself. So you can please keep checking the portal for further details. And also keep a check on the Telegram group as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day.